Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today I want to introduce you to a very cute journaling kit. I was in a Facebook group, an Aussie ladies group, has nothing to do with crafting, and someone reached out and said, does anyone in this group junk journal? Well, Nick put her hand up because yes, she loves junk journaling. And she offered to send me this kit. I didn't have to do a YouTube video or anything like that on it. She just wanted me to have a look at it, see what I thought of it, see what I thought of the other products she had in her shop, and just to give her some feedback. But of course, when I saw this kit, I immediately went, oh, okay, I need to make a Christmas journal with this. And the reason being why I love this is that it's incredibly pretty, but it has a Christmas story included in it. So everyone probably knows that, you know, 'twas the night before Christmas went all through the house. If you don't know that, I'd be honestly surprised. So I decided, yes, we're going to print off all the things. Well, not all of the things. I've only printed off some of them, and make a fabulous journal and show everyone how to do it. And then I had this thought. There are a lot of people out there who watch junk journal videos but maybe have never made one themselves because they just don't know where to start and they think it's all too hard and too scary. Or there are people that don't have a lot of time. The list, I'm sure, goes on. But I had this thought that maybe, what if I use this beautiful kit to create a really simple no-sew journal that honestly anybody could make with just a couple of hours work. So I'm going to make that journal with you today. And then if you also would like to see me make a more elaborate one, you know, with all sorts of junk and other bits thrown in and lace and pretty things, let me know in the comments box below and I will seriously consider doing another video using more of the bits in this kit. But let's start right at the basics and what I'm going to use to make this very simple journal. So the first part is the 12 main pages. A Christmas story has been spread over the 12 pages. And on the other side of each page is a very pretty image. I'll just quickly flip through them so you can see the images. So can you already see how cute this is and how pretty this would be as a Christmas journal? It's very neutral colours, but a little bit, it is Christmassy, but not too in your face, especially if you like the vintage look. You've got all the nice dark edges and things like that. Voila. Then the other thing that comes in the kit is these pages. They are, one has lines, both sides, the other has blank. The beauty of this is, obviously, I double printed. I did both sides. The way this is designed, even if you put your first print in the wrong way around, when you print it, it won't matter because it's all the same. Now, I managed to get it to work, but I realized it actually didn't make any difference, even if I accidentally put a page in upside down. So to give yourself plenty of journaling space without having to go to any work at all, you just double side print these pages. So as you can see, it doesn't get much easier than that. Now, just an FYI quickly before we start, this was printed on A4 copy paper. Now, my new printer and I, well, newish printer and I, are not on speaking terms when it comes to printing full page without a border. So instead of spending hours mucking around trying to get that to work, I just printed it on my A4 paper and I have trimmed it down and just got rid of my white border. So these are a tiny bit smaller than A4. So, of course, there are other things in this kit. For example, these are double pages that you could just print on normal copy paper. I've printed these onto matte photo paper. It makes them quite a bit bolder and brighter. I also want to involve one of these images in my cover. So we're going to make a very simple cover. And so I printed this one off because I loved it. I printed the baubles off, and I actually think I'm going to probably use this one on my cover, which you will see down the track. There's more double pages. So keeping in mind, if you think the 12 pages with writing space on each backing is not enough space for you, you could print out some of these pretty ones, double print them again, and add them in intermittently through your journal. If you want to make a bigger one, it's up to you. But what I did with this, these are the double pages, but I've printed them so that two fit on a page. So what I did, the quickest and easiest way with my printer, when I went to print, I changed my paper size to postcard. No, it wasn't postcard. It's half A4, whatever that size is, and printed one. Then I flipped it, put it back in, and I printed the other one. So this, of course, could be normal double-side pages. There are also more. My plan, of course, was to use these as journaling cards. So that's why I printed those ones like that. Then, of course, there are pockets. Actually, no, this one is put on upside down and around face. There are more than this. There are ephemera cutout bits. There are tags. And I've printed this sheet out because I think I might try and incorporate this into my cover. We shall see how we go. And of course, I was going to make all these fancy pockets and things, but we're going to, again, keep it very simple. But what I thought, I do love this one, and I may include this on the inside so that if you have days where you are busy and you don't get time to do your journaling, but you may have some ephemera from an event you went to, or you printed off a photo, or you found some cute paper wrap, whatever. I'm going to put this on the inside of the cover, just so you've got a little pocket that you can put bits in that you can add to the journal when you have time. Okay, so as I said, there are more pieces than this, but I just printed out what I initially thought I was going to use. Now, again, to keep things very simple, I have a frozen pizza box. Yes, I love Dr. Oetker frozen pizzas. They're very delightful. But I thought, looking at this, I don't know, how can I show you this without bending it? It's not a huge spine, but keeping things simple, inside this, I am only going to be using those 12 main pages. If you want to add more pages, like with wrapping paper or doilies or whatever you love using, if you've made many a journal, pick any form of box that has a bigger spine. But for simplicity, and today, we just need a pizza box. I grabbed a roll. This is wrapping, actually Christmas wrap, but it's craft coloured. So I grabbed a roll of this because I want, now, when I make the cover, we're going to use the pizza box and the craft wrap, and then I want this to stand out. So this on top of this will allow this to shine. If you have rolls of Christmas wrap sitting down in the cupboard, there's no reason why you can't use those. You know, something with green or red Christmas print would look perfectly okay for this too. This is all about using what you have and having a go. So I'm going to get this sorted and we are going to make a journal. So the first step, we need to start creating the cover. So what I did, I hacked around all the excess of my pizza box, and I literally mean hacked because this is way bigger than what I need. So I don't have to worry about nice, neat edges. And I've now turned it into basically just like a book cover. Now, oops, sorry, my book cover just knocked my stand. And I didn't realise this until I had cut it open. This is actually embossed and it's raised. So what I've decided to do is to flip this pizza box around. I'm going to use this as the cover on the front. The reason being, when we put our large piece on top. That will hide virtually all of that. And on the inside down here where we have our pocket added in, that will hide most of that, because I'm pretty sure when I glue the brown paper down, you will still see the indentation. So instead of worrying about that, I'm just going to pretend it's not there, because we will be covering most of it up. Now, the one thing I do every time, if I use any form of packaging to make a junk journal cover, I always keep one of the side strips and I reinforce the strength of the spine. This is doubled up. It's pretty good, but look, I don't think a journal can ever have a strong enough spine. So no matter what you throw into it, we want it nice and tough. So I'm going to glue it down on this side. That way I don't have to worry about these lumpy glue bits that are there. They can just integrate down in underneath. I'm using my favorite glue. This is Helmer's Tiger Grip. I use this for virtually everything when it comes to junk journaling. It holds like nails, and it gives you just long enough that you can still shimmy things around, but otherwise it dries quickly. It dries completely clear. If you've been following my channel for any length of time, I have waffled on many times about how much I adore this glue, because you can literally glue anything. And then you always get this bit left over, and I like to pop it on my hand, and then when it dries, I peel it off. Don't worry about me, I am crazy. Yes. So we're now going to flip this over and glue it down. Now, I did trim a little bit off so that it is not as thick as the space there. You don't want it to... I won't pull up this side because I'm going to knock my camera stand again, but you don't want it to get involved in stopping this from being able to bend as far as it needs to. So I always trim it down a little bit, and then we are all good. Now, this didn't quite line up, but it doesn't matter. So the next thing, we need to make this the correct size. Now, keeping in mind, I mentioned before, my pages are a little bit less than A4 because I had to trim my white border off. So mine turned out to be, now think about this, Nick, 14.5 by, hang on, let me measure this. I measured all this before and now I've forgotten what I did. Hang on, let me get a marker and I'll write this down on here for you. Now, you ignore the spine, okay? Because when you have this over like this, your important bit is to measure exactly how far your page will come out and how long your page is. So what I did, this I remember is now 15.5 millimeters, or centimeters, I should say. Okay, and what I've done, I've allowed 1 centimeter or half a centimeter on each edge, okay? I don't want my pages flush with the edge. They're only printed on, you know, normal sort of, I mean, it's premium copy paper, but it's only copy paper. So I want my pages inside to be protected. So I always add some allowance. So I've added half a centimeter on each side. So my actual pages are 14.5 centimeters across. And if I remember correctly, this is 21.5. Correct. 21.5 centimeters. And again, I've given myself a half a centimeter buffer on each side. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're in the US and you're using US letter size and all that sort of stuff, you'll need to do your own measurements. But the most important thing is you don't include the spine in your measurements. You start from the edge, add your allowance, and then measure accordingly. Now, I could just get at this with a pair of scissors, but I do prefer to use a blade and my metal ruler. I find you get a nice sharper edge, usually straighter as long as you hang on nicely. I can't do this on camera. My setup is like literally right above me. That's why I just hit the stand before when I flip this up. So I'm going to have to do this off camera, but all you need is some form of mat to protect your desk underneath, and then you line this up and you literally cut it out. So I will go and do that, and I will be back. Just a quick couple of tips. If you want to get a nice clean edge using a blade, the reason why I couldn't do this on camera, you need to have your weight right down very firmly on this. So I stand up right over the top of where I'm trying to cut. And of course, I can't see where I'm cutting right now because there's a camera in the way. The other thing is, don't try to cut all the way through on the first go. You're using so much force then that there's a very good chance your ruler might slip. So get nice and solid, and then just do it a few times gently. Usually 2 or 3 times will do it, and that way you reduce the risk of your ruler slipping and you ending up with a bad cut. Just thought those tips might help. All right, so I have cut out my brown paper, and I noticed that it's glossy on, sort of glossy, semi-glossy on one side and rough on the other. So I'm going to glue this down with the glossy part onto the cardboard, because this is a vintage sort of journal. We don't need glossy paper. So all we're going to do, I'm going to flip this over for starters. Now, because this is not really that thick, I'm just going to use glue stick because I don't want to risk it getting any wrinkles if possible. So I think glue stick is the safe option. I always use Uhu. It's definitely the best. And so what we're going to do is just simply start by very gently, so trying not to get too many glumpy bits. I'm just going to start down the middle at the moment, just giving it a nice coverage. But we're going to do this in little bits and pieces rather than trying to glue it all down in one go. So we'll just flip this over and pop this down, sort of central. Doesn't sort of have to be perfect, because this is going to get folded over and then another piece will go down to sort of cover that up. And then I'm just going to gently press this down. I want to try and avoid pulling the paper too taut, because when you then lift it up to bend it, if the paper's thinner, it might tear. Now, if that does happen with this, it's not going to be a problem. I'll use some Distress Oxide to fix that, and you won't even see it. But hopefully it won't happen if we're just nice and gentle. So I'm just using an old plastic card to gently press this down around the edge of the spine, and then we'll continue on with the rest of it. So what we're going to do is okay, so this is the bit that will become the cover. So I'm going to do the back first and just see how well we can do this and try not and get it too wrinkly. So just pull it up slightly obviously where it has tacked down from the glue. And now we're just going to add a bit more. Oh, and my glue's just flown off my desk. That's okay. I have another one handy. And then we just gently squish this down. I don't want to pull it too taut. I don't want to risk tearing it. So we're just gently nudging it forward. Let's grab another glue stick. I have decided I'm not as in love with the blue ones as I am the white ones. Just, I find sometimes the blue ones are more inclined to behave in a gluggy manner and leave you with lumpy, bumpy bits than the white ones. just a little hint there. But I got a heap of these blue ones cheap at a clearance somewhere because they actually had blue written on the bottle, but like that one I was just using it, or the stick, whatever it is, it actually had clear ones in it. So they must have had a batch that got done incorrectly, but that's okay. So again, now we're just gently nudging this to the end. Yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a line there, but honestly, I probably could have just done it all in one go, but it's okay. See, I have managed to get a little bit of a line there that I don't like. But that's okay. I'm trying not to tear this thin paper. So, other than that little mark there, that's okay. Now we'll flip this round, and maybe I should try just doing the whole lot in one go. Maybe that will help. But can you see how this blue one goes a bit cluggy? I don't like this as much. The white ones just don't do this, but that's okay. Yeah, see, you can see the raised bit there, but as I said, it's not going to be a problem because we are going to cover that up. Okay, so that's the first bit done. Now, what we need to do is just leave that just to dry for a few minutes, and then I'll just clean the excess off my mat, and then we shall do the next part. So now, before we glue this down on the inside, just want to mitre the corners. Again, none of this has to be perfect because we're actually going to cover the inside, which will make it look even neater. So don't get too concerned about perfect corners or anything silly like that. Also got to remember, this is supposed to look like an old book. So if things aren't exactly even and perfect, guess what? That's okay. All right, so now it's time to glue down this bit. So what we're going to do, I have rescued my white glue because I like it a lot more. And what I'm going to do is just run some along the edges. Definitely more than what I need, but again, it doesn't matter. It will dry. It will be covered. All of the above. So this is like easy peasy stuff. Then we're just going to gently pull it over. And again, try not to stretch it too much, and that will reduce the risk of it tearing. So we're being gentle. Then flip this corner over. There we go. That's not too bad. And the same thing on this side. Yeah, put a little bit of glue directly on here, won't hurt either. Okay, pop the lid on that. Pop that down before I throw it off my desk again. Okay, that's turned out pretty good. Now, yes, I'm happy with that. Have a look. That's pretty schmick, actually. I think you would all agree. And that wasn't that hard to do. Okay, now, the next thing. I have cut one more piece. Again, we got to glue this down. This I cut a little bit smaller than what I actually need, because all I'm doing is just sort of creating a neat finish on the inside. So I'm going to start, this is the bit that I want, it doesn't really matter down here, this is the part I want looking the best, because this is going to be my front cover. So we're going to do the whole front thing in one go. Doesn't matter if you glue further afield, because this dries and disappears. And we're going to do this bit straight away. And again, I've put the glossy side down, and I just want to gently try and do it, you know, relatively evenly, but we're not going to panic if it's not. Just, I'm gently nudging this down. By doing that, it does help to, when you start to fold it, if you already have a nice sort of neat fold in the area that it has to go. There's, of course, a little lump there from the paper underneath. Again, we're not worried about that. I think I've even got a tiny air bubble in there. Just use your card to gently nudge it around. Now, it looks as though I was a bit shy on the glue down in this corner. So we're just going to quickly lift it up, add some more. We just want it nicely sealed. All right, then we're going to flip it round, lift this up gently. We're doing exactly the same thing again. Oh, I have not gone low enough here with the glue. I can see a little measuring mark that I have to erase out. And I definitely need some more glue along this edge. That's okay. It's easy to do. Glue stick gives you a little bit of play time. Now, I have it, it's not perfectly glued down there. Oh, that should be okay though. But otherwise, what you can do is, once this is done, use a liquid glue and just go in the little bits if they didn't seal down. Okay, now the magic trick is with this is to not touch this for a little while. Let it dry nice and solid. I mean, glue stick does dry very quickly, but before we start bending, you just want to let it dry. If you don't, you have the risk of areas like this moving under the pressure, and then you end up with lumps and bumps and things you don't want. So we are going to leave this alone. I'm going to give this a good hour or so, I think, before I do anything else. So I might go and have a cup of coffee, and I will be back. So while my cover is drying, I thought I could prep the extra piece that is going on my cover. And this is the one I want to, yes, this is the one I want to use. I'm going to trim this out and just sort of very roughly follow the shape of this, because I don't want it to be a perfect square. Okay, get that bit done. Put that aside for something else. And we're just going to sort of do the same sort of thing here. You know, sort of just following along the lines of the stain marks that are already on the paper. This is not an exact science. It doesn't need to be. Okay, done. And I also think what I'm going to do is get my distress ink in brushed corduroy, because I think this is going to be what I consider the best colour match. And I'm just going to ink this edge a little bit.
This step is definitely not necessary. It's just one that I feel like doing. If you don't have distress ink, it doesn't matter. Or distress oxide, you can use good old vintage photo if you have it. But I quite like this one. It does have a little bit of an orangey undertone, which I think blends nicely with the colours used in it. That's why I thought I'd pick this instead of good old vintage photo.
If I had half a brain, I would have put that over that side, but oh well, never mind. Now, that is done. Now, for our cover, which I will stretch shortly, but not just yet. Let's just make sure I've got you in frame. Oh, look at that. I need to just gently trim a little bit of this off. And I might just the tiniest bit so it doesn't sit right on that fold line. So just re-ink this bit. Okay. Now let's see, how does that fit? That's better. Okay, now the reason why I'm worried about that, I'm worried, I mean, I love sticky over the side things, but I am concerned that this is only on photo paper. It's not thick cardstock. That may get bent, and I don't like that idea. So I thought I need to have it sitting right. It can go right to the edge. Okay, now, on that note, we're going to gently nudge our cover over now. So how I normally do this is I take a ruler and I very gently nudge it over. Now you see I've got a tiny little gap here where I didn't glue properly, so we can fix that. We just gently nudge this over. Very gently. Just go slowly. There we go. Didn't tear at all. How fabulous is that? I am very happy. I have the tiniest little bit of overhang here. So let's trim that off. Now, also had another thought. Seeing I have inked the edge of this, I've opened up my own little can of worms. I am now going to edge the entire thing. Probably won't worry, I might not worry about the inside, but I think I want to do the whole lot. So I will quickly zip around the edge of this and I will be back. So the next thing we have to do is attach this piece. So I'm going to use my tiger glue again. Make this super strong, but I just decant it into one of these little things. So I, of course, cut out the bit where it took me half an hour to declog my little glue thing, because sometimes that happens. I actually got the pin stuck because there was some old glue left on the pin. Oh, never mind. I could have probably just used the big bottle, but I didn't want it too thick and globularly and risk this possibly getting bendy, but it shouldn't do. This glue is usually really good. Okay. So just remembering that I want to try and hide this embossed bit. So this is where the front piece is going. We want to get it relatively central, but it doesn't really matter because we've got such a wonky edge, so that's okay. Love it. That's done. Oh, I can put my pliers away now. I needed to use those to help rescue my gluggy pin out of the glue nib. Naughty thing. Speaking of which, where's the lid? I'm going to put it straight back on for now. Okay, so the next thing I want to try and do is I want to incorporate this down here. So we're going to trim this off for starters. And then I thought I might try and tear this. I don't know how well this is going to work, how this photo paper will behave being treated like this, but we're going to find out. Because I think a torn edge would look better than a sharp scissor cut. And I'm tearing this towards me because I don't want this white edge. That's more white than we need to see. So if you pull and tear towards yourself, you don't end up with the white. If you want a white edge, just reverse everything around and you will get exactly what you're after. Okay, so just tearing around, pop that out of the way. Now, we're going to get some white here then no matter what we do, aren't I? So we'll deal with it. Okay, let's start. Let's get the word Christmas done. Yes, there's some white, but that's okay. We will magically use some distress ink to help us with that. What I'm doing is I'm tearing in between each word because it's too long to fit solidly. So I thought, right, well, we have to come up with the best alternative. Might even trim this down a fraction more so it's not quite so big. And see, this is the aim of the game. Is it going to fit? We might just make these a little bit smaller. Same here at the top. Might just do the same. Just so it definitely fits. I really want to try and avoid covering up any of the image. That's the main aim of this extra tearing. Okay, so we have those done. We're going to ink these edges and then glue them down. Maybe get rid of that tiny bit extra there too while I'm at it. So, of course, by inking the edges, that white bit does basically disappear. So don't have to be paranoid if you tear something the wrong way. If you are inking, you will be saved. There'd also be no reason why you can't just cut them out, keep things square. If you don't have ink or you don't want to ink, you just want to keep things really simple, just cut things out in perfect little rectangles and it will look just as lovely, I am sure. Voila. Oh, I do like that. That works perfectly. All right, so now we're just going to grab a little junk mail mag, which is what I always use when I am adding glue to things. I'm just going to use this because these are just little pieces. So I use junk mail, and then when all the pages are glugged together, it goes into the recycling bin. I know a lot of creatives use book pages, but I hate wasting book pages as glue pages. I really do. So junk mail, this sort of junk mail, it's never going to make it into a journal or anything. So I'm happy to use it for glue. Look, I sometimes even use it for a stenciling background, because book pages to me can be turned into something beautiful. So I don't like doing that. But that's just my own personal choice. Perfect. Okay, that fitted in. It looks really good. I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. Now, I do have one more thing that I want to add to this cover. This part, again, is totally unnecessary, but I have this beautiful, rich gold glitter, and they probably didn't have glitter back in vintage times, but you know what? I don't care. I want to add a little bit. So what I'm going to do, just put some of this glue in the center of these circles, just the bigger ones, and then I'm just going to tap this down, put a nice thick coating on. It's a bit like using embossing powder, except I'm not embossing, this is just normal glitter. Then again, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to leave this alone and then give it a little while to dry. Then I will tap off the excess, get rid of it and dust it off. And we will have these really cute little glittery lumps, which I think should look very, very cute. But again, this bit you don't have to do. It's just something that I know I've got this beautiful glitter. I want to give it a go. So this glitter sat there for a couple of hours because I ended up having a big catch up with a friend of mine on the phone. And as you can see, we now have these lovely little raised glittery bits, and I do think that colour is gorgeous. I just got a brush but I can still see a few tiny bits of glitter there. I'll just sort of keep playing with that, but that will also drop off in time. But also do remember, you don't need to do this glittery bit. I just felt like adding something a little extra. Now, while I was chatting to my friend, I cut out this pocket and I did ink around the edges again. Don't ink if you don't want to. And I also cut out these two bows. These were at the end of this bit. And I thought they were just too pretty not to use. And I think I sort of need to do something like that with them. So why not? They're part of the kit and they're very pretty. And then we've got a bit of cohesiveness on the cover with the bow here and then the bow on these two little bows, which I'm just going to pop up here. Thought we might put one up there. And then this one as well. Why not? Perfect. And as tempting as it is, I am not going to do anything else to that cover. I think it looks great the way it is. I could keep adding bits everywhere, but I think we need to stop. That's the whole idea. We're trying to keep things simple, but I absolutely love how that turned out. I think it's so pretty. So now we are going to just simply flip this over and glue this inside down here. Now, Where's my raised bit? No, most of it's sort of right in the middle. I'm okay at the edge there. You really can't see anything. So I'm just going to put some glue down. I'm not going to try and center it. I'm going to have it a little, oh, do I want it centered? No, I think we might just keep it over to the side a bit. That way it won't interfere in any shape or form. Now, this pocket is very easy because of the dome. You know you don't want to add glue along there. But if it was straight, my trick is to always hold your pocket on the edge. You don't want to add glue. This way, because I cannot tell you how many times I have accidentally added glue where I did not want it. And this is also why my fabulous tiger grip goes into one of these small dispensers so that I can do a relatively fine line. So again, you don't have to add the pocket if you don't want, but I did think it was a good idea to collect bits and pieces in that you may not have time. Christmas time can get very busy. So this way you can collect bits, even put little notes in of what you've done on certain days if you know you are going to have to play catch up. And that's that. So I think we're going to call it quits with this cover now. I absolutely love how it looked. So now it's time to just simply finish it off. Let me just move this out of the way in case there happens to be any glue or anything on it, but I don't think there should be. And we'll put the lid back on this. Okay, so what I have done, these are the 12 main pages, and they're the only pages that I'm going to include in this journal for simplicity. So what I did, I folded them all in half so that if you flip through this, you get to read the Christmas story. So I just made sure I had them in perfect order, and I've split them into 2 lots of 6. So this is 2 signatures, as we call it. And then you have the whole story on display. Now, as I have folded these in half, you will notice that as the pages get into the middle, they start to stick out the side a little bit. You could trim them dead flat if you wanted to, but honestly, I can't see the point. And now we are going to add them into the journal in the easiest way possible. Now, initially, my first thought was just to use this twine because it's nice and thin. And I thought this natural twine would look okay. But then I was going through my stash and I found these ribbons. Now, if you want to use ribbon, you have to use ribbon that's really thin and flimsy. If you use thick ribbon, when it goes down the middle of your signature, it's going to create this awful lump. And I'm not even convinced that this is going to work, but I'm just going to do a little experiment and see how I feel about it all. So we'd be doing something like this, and then this would gather up in there once we've sort of tied it. Oh, it doesn't make it too chunky at all. Decisions. My biggest problem was I've pulled a muscle, can't drive at the moment, so I'm totally relying on my stash, and I don't have any nice fine ribbon. I may very well replace this if I stick with this, but I thought this soft ribbon should do the job, and it would look rather nice because we've got the red and the green on the cover, and then this of course would highlight that. Or I could just do it all green. No, I'd like to do one of each. I may very well change that, but again, have a look at what you've got. Now, the other thing I did think of was painting this. You could use watercolors or a little bit of watered down acrylic and paint it green and red. That's another option. But I stumbled on this and went, oh, maybe I want this beautiful ribbon. But let's have a look and see how this is actually going to pan out. So first things first, I need to measure up roughly how much I need because I want to be able to tie a bow. So let's go here. We're going to fold this in half like that. We're going to grab our fabric scissors and we're going to cut another fishtail like that one already has. And then we're going to grab this red one. Unfortunately, I would have liked to use this, but this is the only piece I have of this. I presume this maybe came wrapped around a gift and I've squirreled it. So we might start by fishtailing this end. And we have a damaged piece here, so let's make sure we cut all that off. Get rid of that bit of glue on my finger, tape or whatever it is. Okay, then down we go. Okay, so I can't quite make it, but I know I need to cut my fishtail maybe just above it. It doesn't matter if one's a little bit longer than the other. Flip it round and chop. Okay, so we now have our 2 ribbons. Which one's the scrap? Okay, no. So we might start with the back one. And the only thing we have to do is grab our signature. We have to feed this through, get it roughly halfway. This will gather up on its own. We put it in place and we flip this over. Now this is the back one I'm doing because this ribbon is thicker. I just thought maybe that's what we want to do. And I am not going to glue this or anything like that at the moment because I may very well change this ribbon out because I do think it may be a bit more practical if it was a little bit thinner, but I can't do that until I can get out and actually see what I can buy. So there's one bow, and that's our first signature in. Then we grab the next one, feed it through roughly about halfway. Just realised I've cut my fishtail the wrong way. It's got a point on it, but we'll fix that in a moment. Sit that on top, turn this over again and tie it up. So it doesn't get any simpler than that. Now, a couple of things. What we can do, and if I decide to keep these ribbons, because I think they're really pretty and I like them, I would put a tiny little bit of glue here and there, and that will hold the ribbons in place. They won't slide off your cover, but I don't want to do that at the moment because I might still paint some of this or maybe try and find some thinner ribbon. I'm not 100% sure I'm happy with this choice at the moment, so I won't glue them down, but I would definitely do that if I decide these are the ribbons that I want to use. But again, use what you have. And there we have 2 bows. So there we go. That is now complete. What I would do, as you can see, this still wants to stick up a little bit because it's freshly made. So what I would do is put these together and then get some weight, something, for example, like a cup, my dirty coffee cup here, and just sit that on there for 24 hours. This will bend into shape and it will then stay closed. So there we go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments box below. And if you'd like to see me make a more elaborate junk journal with all sorts of fun junky bits and using all the beautiful ephemera that's available in this kit, I will happily do so. Just leave me a comment. But there we go. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now.